My name is Scott Baker. I live in just north of Nashville, Tennessee. I've been in manufacturing. Actually, I calculated the other day, I've been in manufacturing for 43 years. I'm 60 years old now. I didn't realize I'd worked so long. And I mostly have worked in automotive, all in operations, but I have worked some outside of automotive, and I've been working on lean manufacturing for many years. Not haven't had a lot of, let's say, real in classroom training, but a lot of books I've read and a lot of implementation that I've tried to do. So that's my introduction to the ordinary world. So I've always felt like my career was the number one most important thing in my life, maybe sometimes to a fault. But I worked first for a company called TRW, man, and I worked hard. I was probably working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for months on end without a day off. I've read lots of books and had great leaders and a wonderful success. I was considered an up and coming person in that company. And now working at Pullman Industries, same thing. I started there. The company was on new business hold with Chrysler and Ford, our two biggest customers. And we really turned it around where we won the Chrysler Pentastar Award and the Ford Supplier of the Year Award. We're doing great things. I'm so happy. I'm doing great financially. Bought myself a BMW. Life is perfect. And I'm giving money to different charities, and I'm really enjoying what I do. I couldn't be happier, and I love going to work. Call to adventure. Who are these losers that I am working for? It's unbelievable. Since I left Pullman Industries, I've worked for complete idiots. The first guy I worked for was calling the fabrication department, telling them only to run the parts with absorption. The president of the company calling down to tell the operations people only run parts with absorption. And then when I try to assemble it, I can't get it assembled because I don't have any parts. Who does that? He doesn't know anything about operations. I'm trying so hard to get things turned around, and he's holding me back at every step. I got like $100 approval power. So anything over $100, he has to approve. Even he has a particular policy. Anybody over the age of 55 can't get a raise or a bonus. I'm pretty sure that's criminal. And I worked for another guy who, when the paint line went down, he wanted me to run it, even though the environment of the plant was just, I can't work for them anymore. I have to do something else, but I don't know what it is yet. Refusal of the call. I'm trying to be mediocre like these people I'm working for are, but it's killing me. I feel completely defeated, and I'm exhausted. There are days I go to work, I stop the car and I just throw up outside because I'm so nervous about going to work. I'm thinking, maybe I'll just work as a consultant for a while and see if I can get myself to retirement, because I'm tired of this. Meeting the mentor. So I had this really weird thing that happened to me the other day. I've been trying to connect with people for my consulting business, and I had connected with this guy named George, and up on LinkedIn, it says it's his birthday. So I send him this happy birthday message, and he writes back to me that I should join him in Santorini, Greece, for a Harada Method conference. I have no idea who George is, and I don't know what the Harada Method is, but I definitely don't have any money for it. But I look him up, see what this is and what is Harada, and he seems to know a lot of people. And the Harada Method looks pretty interesting, but I don't know that I have the money for it. But I went ahead. He said, hey, we do the 17-day challenge. It's free, and see what you think. So I look it up, and the first thing that it asked me is, if I die, what would I want people to say about me? And I reflected on that for a long time, and I wrote this sentence of what I would want people to say, and immediately realized that I was none of those things. I don't put God first. I, my health is so bad, I'll be lucky to be around when my kids graduate from college. I don't have any friends. All my friends are past friends from when my career was doing better, and they all live someplace else. And I'm basically broke right at the moment. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. So it's definitely time for a change. Crossing the threshold. Thinking about what my goal should be and what I'm going to do to make these changes happen. And I realize I got to focus first on my health. And my health is so bad. I'm going to need a lot of commitment. I'm going to really need to commit to this to make it happen. And I got to start small. I can probably barely get up the stairs, much less exercise. But really, if I could do this, it could lead to a new happy life that's not based solely on how my career's done, on much more important things. And I need God to help me, I think, keep me motivated to doing this as well. Tests, allies, and enemies. So I've started off small, working on exercising. I'm trying to make small diet changes, and I've started walking on the treadmill at the hotel when I travel. I'm starting at 15 minutes just to get myself, up in the morning, get kind of a routine of getting up in the morning. But this morning I go down there and the treadmill's not working at all. So I'm thinking, well, I guess I have to wait a while before I keep going and see if I can get that fixed. But I started talking to George, and he says, well, why? Why do you have to wait? Well, I'm not really ready for the elliptical. And he says, well, why don't you just walk outside? He's coaching me on the 5 whys, which is what I do for a living. And I realized that I'm my own enemy here. My own brain is my own enemy, and I'm going to have to do better than that. And I've been reflecting on some of these bosses that I've worked for. They're riding around in limos making $1 million bonuses, and I'm doing all the work. All the success that they have is the success that I'm doing. The one place I was working, people would comment that the only person trying to drive change and make things better is me, and they're getting all the recognition. They're milking me like a cow. And I'm not going to let that happen anymore. This starting my own career as a consultant, I can motivate myself to be better. The approach. I've been thinking about my health and how bad that it is, and how I need to really focus on that as my first goal. I can do other things, with my family and try to make more friends. But first, I got to start with my health. It's all centered around that. The success with my health will lead to the success in other things. And I've got to make my life centered around God and family and friends, and have enough of a career to keep me financially secure. And that's where I'm going to put my new focus. The ordeal. I went to San Diego with the family on vacation and didn't do my exercise routine the entire time. And now I've gone back to work, and I'm struggling to get back where I was. I've still got to exercise, but I got to get it in my head that I got to do it every day. I can't give up. I got to get back to where I was before I went on vacation. I definitely, next time I go on vacation, I've got to make sure that I continue my routine so I don't have problems. But I'm really struggling to get started again. The reward. I've been exercising now for probably over a month, 2 months maybe, and my A1C has gone way down. I was at like 9.1 when I started, and now I'm at 6. And that's like pre-diabetes. So if I can keep going, I can start getting off some of the meds that I'm on. And I'm adding years. If you look up what your time span is at 9.1 A1C and what your time span is at 6, I've added 15 more years to my life already. And I really feel good about that. And I think that that's going to help keep me going and keep me motivated to do more things, add more things other than just the elliptical machine, maybe some weight training and some other things. And I'm making new habits, and I'm really starting to feel better. I've always heard in the past people who exercised a lot would say, if I don't exercise, I don't feel good. When I don't exercise, I don't feel good. I feel sluggish. So it's working. I think it's working. The road back. During the time that I have been in a bad career, I've become very quick tempered. And I think I took a lot of my anger out on my mom. And I sat down with my mom, who's 85, and told her how much that I loved her and apologized for taking out my anger on her, and going to church now every week and studying the Bible. So making progress. So resurrection. I have a new purpose now. I've decided what the big picture is and what my purpose in life is. And I'm trying to start using positive self-talk to help me get where I need to go. I want to hopefully use the Harada Method in the future, someday when I'm retired, to help prisoners or other people change their lives and be able to reach their goals and do the same thing that I'm doing. And that's really, I think, what my overall purpose for God is. Return with the elixir. So I have my vision now. I have these Harada tools that will help me meet my goals. I can do anything really with these. If I can put my vision together, I can fill out my 64 chart. I can make routines and they become habits, and I can become the person that I wanted to be when I wrote my obituary. So with God, I can do it. I will do it. And I have been doing it. New status quo. I have the system now. I'm the leader. I don't have to rely on some other person. I'm the leader of my own company. I've gone from misery to happiness, and I'm ready to take the next step. That's it.